Hello, this is a recording for the upcoming new moon in Libra on September 25th. So here we are again at a new moon and moving right into Libra season. I'm a little sad to watch Virgo season leave, yet on we go and into beautiful, balanced Libra. Well, pursuing balance, right? The idea of Libra is the sign is the scales, right? So Libras are often about always seeking to achieve and create balance in their life, in their partnerships, in the world in general, which is a fabulous thing. It's a wonderful thing. I find that Libras tend to be very aware of others, which again is awesome. In situations, they're thinking about how other people will feel and their experience. So they're very considerate. The energy that I'm getting for this new moon, which just a little reminder, new moons are a time where the moon is dark in the sky. So you won't see the moon, but it's beginning its cycle. So it's a time for new beginnings. It's a time where we plant our seeds, we set our intentions, we establish our goals for this time that's coming up, for this next cycle. You know, our full moon is when we celebrate, we have our harvest, and the new moon is when we sow our seeds. So the energy I'm feeling for this new moon is that we're still in this deep retrograde, right? With these 6 planets. So it's not a time for action still. It's still more of a time of consideration. And being that it's in Libra, I feel we're taking a time to consider, where do we need to recalibrate things? What are we really looking at that where we're seeing things that haven't worked, and why? I feel like that's what this is about. Because again, balance. So whether it's a relationship or a work opportunity you're pursuing, or a shift in your business you want to have, or some like maybe personal health, kind of taking that space to say, okay, I've tried this a few times. I've been wanting this change. Why isn't it changing? You know, what's kind of keeping that this shift from happening, from balance, from recalibrating, right? So, okay, if this has continuously not worked, what do I do to shift my cycle so that I add a little bit more focus to this, and then maybe I'll be able to make progress in that case, right? So, for example, like if you're trying to start your own business and most of your focus is in a lot of like outreach and trying to connect with people, but not so much about your content, maybe it's time to think about, okay, well, why am I avoiding content work? How do I get some time to focus on that? Or in a relationship, if it's, we keep having the same disagreement or the same, discussions or problems, then where are we maybe avoiding a bigger issue? What is it that we resolve these little fights, but if they keep coming up, what's the bigger issue that we're not addressing? So just kind of taking that time to look at patterns, maybe look at the evidence. Libra is also an air sign. So it's the logical sign, right? It's of the mind. It's very a cognizant sign. So thinking about, okay, well, taking ourselves out of it. That's another thing I got, is that, it's about a time to be less subjective and more objective, to look at your life and say, okay, this isn't really working. This is that way. And taking kind of the emotion out of it and just kind of looking at numbers, at statistics, at evidence, right? And kind of resorting things so that you can really get to the heart of why things maybe haven't been working, or maybe just not quite working the way you've wanted. And now is the game changer moment where you're like, okay, I'm actually going to invest more in this and focus more on that and try this. And again, it might not be a time of action. So you're kind of getting off the hook on that because we're in this retrograde, right? So it's not the time to be like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to switch everything up, but just kind of start your game plan, kind of get things in order of like, I'm really going to make this shift. Something that came up for me is I want to collaborate more. I want to start reaching out to people and doing more with others. So I started thinking about who I can reach out to and what I might suggest for a collaboration. So little things like that, where it's like, I'm going to be less, personal about this. Because if we're too personal, if we're too subjective, we can say, oh, I keep messing this up and I'm not doing this well. No judgment needed. Just observing, right? Observing and then taking note. So yeah, and then something else I was getting for this moon is that it's also a time to support others, to not just think about, because it's everything I just listed was like, why isn't my thing working? Why isn't my relationship working, all these things, but also think about, because that's balance too, right? I think of how I impact others and how I balance my life. I think about how I give and how I receive. So kind of looking at where am I maybe not giving enough and need to focus on that, and or maybe I'm not receiving enough. So considering, how can I balance that? But the bigger message was focus on supporting others, because when we give to others, we will often receive that, right? If we want to shift our business, maybe you need to have a friend who's also trying to figure out adjusting their approach or their work or something. If you are having trouble in a relationship, maybe you have a friend who really could use some support and an ear to listen about what's going on in their relationship. And we'll often find that when we offer that to someone else, we might even find ourselves giving the exact solution that we need to someone else and saying, wow, that's a really good point. As a therapist, I do that all the time. In sessions, I'll give some guidance to a client, and all of a sudden I'll think, wow, that was really good. I'm going to use that. So focusing on, okay, if I can't figure this out yet, how can I help somebody else with something they're doing? And it might kind of churn and kind of get the gears moving on what you're looking to do. So balancing, recalibrating, figure out what's not working. How do you put less effort into this, more effort into this, getting to the heart of why things haven't been working, being objective rather than subjective, and then supporting others, giving, and then you shall receive. So with that, I also want to pull some cards for you all. I know this is an interesting setup. It's the best I can do in the digs that I'm in right now, my current location, where I'm staying in Dallas, Texas, making my way around the country. So I'm using my tarot deck, the Mary L Tarot, and then I'm going to pull an oracle card from the Nature Whispers. And what's so funny is, so earlier today, I've been listening to other tarot readers talk about this moon. And just before I started setting up, I was listening to one reader in particular, and she also incorporated some tarot cards, and she pulls out her tarot deck. And the first card that falls out is Justice, which Justice is the card of Libra and the major arcana, is because it's the scales, right? Justice is the one that's holding the scales in the tarot, weighing out like what I only follow, what is just, what is right. I don't use emotion. I just look at, my scales. And I was like, oh, that's funny that she happened to pull that. And then I open my tarot deck, and what's at the bottom of the deck? Right there, Justice, right at the bottom, just looking right at me like, hello, I'm here too. I wanted to be here for your reading as well. And look at that beautiful Egyptian-esque picture, this individual with their hands folded, and there's a snake, right? Because there's such a surrender about justice. They're really just turning things over to sort of like the cosmic law of what is balance, what is so, what is for the highest good. And I've always appreciated that about justice, is it's really saying, I take out my emotions, I hear you, what you say, but we need to weigh out what is best for all. So justice is really wanting to come through, and it's kind of saying like balancing, looking at your life that way. Maybe I really wanted this, but is it for my highest good? Is it really right for me, for my path? When I take out, my own desire, my own specific wants and desires, maybe they don't actually suit the path of my life. That's another thing to consider in this moon, is if we're recalibrating, maybe we've been putting a lot of energy in something that we really want, but is it really for us? Kind of asking that. Go to Justice, meditate and go to that Justice and say, can you please weigh my request on your scale? Just, and see what comes through in a guided meditation of approaching justice and asking, is this just, is this so, is this right for me? All right. So just a little thought for that, considering that justice came through. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and shuffle and see what other cards would like to join us for this reading for this new moon in Libra, taking us right into October. Isn't that exciting? I love October, because then guess what's next? Halloween. We will have to do a good reading for Halloween. My favorite. Okay. So let's see. Can we please get some cards for the new moon in Libra? Oh, there they are. Oh, there's 3. My goodness. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So there's some pretty strong energy. I'm feeling a very, that's a angelic, some feminine, angelic. We got water and fire. Can you see these? Pull them up a little bit. Okay. So what I saw first was this Ace of Cups. And don't we love to see that? So cups are all about emotions, and aces are all about a new beginning, an inception point of something. To me, the aces always remind me of sort of like this, like the stirring pot, like the thing that's you're brewing it up, right? This energy of cups is like, just there's a new chapter just brewing. It hasn't really formulated, but it's coming. Something's coming up for you in this cycle. And cups are about emotions. Ace of Cups is often thought about a new love, considered to be new love coming into your life. But just as I was kind of sharing, it might not mean necessarily a relationship. It could be, but it could be like the birth of something that you're really going to love, right? It's Ace of Cups is about something that you find joy in, that you feel emotionally fulfilled with. It's a really positive omen for things coming into fruition, coming into your life that bring you, again, that joy and fulfillment. So that's a wonderful thing. So it's saying when you do that balancing, think about, what am I focusing on that if it came through, if it came to be, would it truly satisfy me? Would it make me happy? Would it also be, again, for the benefit of all? Because again, Libra season, we're thinking about not just us, but if I do this, if I offer this, if this happens, will it be the benefit of everybody? Right? Like, if this relationship works out, is this really realistic for both of us, for both parties, that it would be sustainable? Because sometimes we find ourselves in relationships and we really want it to work and we want it to happen, but then we think, if we look at it, we can say, I just don't know if this would work for both of us. I don't know if they're the one that's meant for the long haul with me, because not everybody can be. But we got this good omen that, the Ace of Cups is here for this season. Something is wanting to be born, to come through, that brings great joy and has a beautiful, loving tone to it. So that's wonderful. Yeah, kind of a graphic card. Very cool, though. I think it's, yeah. So you can see the angel wings, right? And I love this red, and then like this blue in the middle, in the solar plex. Okay, and then we have the Page of Cups. So the Page of Cups, so 2 cup cards. That's interesting to have sort of this emotional tint to this, where I was kind of being pretty serious with the Justice card and, kind of being like very deliberate and weighing things out. But then we also have emotion coming in. So it's me that's saying what we're balancing is our emotion, our emotional involvement in our decisions, in our life. And maybe, so I said to kind of work objectively, but it's also asking to, consider things logically, but also consider how it feels within you, right? When you're working really hard at something, what does it feel like if you would tell yourself, okay, if I got this job, sit with that feeling and think, okay, I got the job. How does it feel? Like, act as if, right? And then sit with it. And do you feel anxious? Do you feel like, oh gosh, that feels really intimidating? Or do you feel relaxed, like, oh gosh, that would be so wonderful? Because the page, just like the ace, again, it's funny that we have the new moon, because these are the 2 cards of new beginnings, of new things coming in, new starts, the ace and the page. But the page is the one that's kind of bringing something in, right? The Page of Cups can often be a surprise, like a little surprise. In the traditional deck, it has the page holding a cup and there's a fish popping out of it. And that's a surprise, right? Who expects a fish to pop out of their cup? I mean, we would hope that wouldn't happen, right? But sometimes it does. And it can be a surprise in love, or something that will bring you loving feelings, peaceful feelings, joyous feelings. I love this card. And look, oh, there's that fish, see? But this one popped in the back of their head. That's a surprise too. So, and it has these sails. Look at the sails. There's a ship in the background. So maybe it's a little start that's nudging you with, sailing away to something different, sailing on with something, pursuing something that brings you that emotional fulfillment, that emotional joy. Yeah. So beautiful new cards. Definitely. This isn't messing around, right? I'm getting all the new beginning cards for the new moon, and I got the Justice card for Libra. So like, everything's on point. This is, by all means, a Libra new moon. So we're going to have balancing, and we're going to have new things coming in. But then this kind of surprising, very emotional aspect that we got to consider our emotions when we're balancing things. And then we have the Queen of Wands, which means like we're also kind of ready to be seen and be vibrant and move forward with something that, that we want to do, that we are excited about, that we are good at. You know, we're kind of, to me, the Queen of Wands is like that socialite, right? Very vivacious, but also really knows that they are talented and skilled and they want to share that with others. That, to me, the energy of the Queen of Wands is very playful, very, you know, very attractive. And so to me, it kind of means that this is a time that once, I feel like this is saying, like, once we kind of balance things out, there's going to be this part of you stepping forward that really feels in your element in whatever you're doing, in that relationship, in your work. Maybe just like if you're pursuing more like personal health, fitness, you're starting to feel good. You're starting to feel this glow, right? Oh, and she has this tiger, the tiger or leopard. It's like this cheetah or something with her. So it's also like this, you know, caregiving type thing, right? So back to like, you know, balancing and looking out for others, supporting others, right? Like, yes, we're going to be in our vibrancy, in our element, but we're also going to be considering and taking care of the well-being of those around us, considering others when we make our decisions and our choices, even as bright as we're shining, all these new beginnings starting, some loving feelings, maybe some exciting surprises in love. But, and really, I feel like it's like, I just got like finding our identity as, you know, this Queen of Wands through it all, right? This person who, no matter how the scales tip, knowing who you are and your power and deciding how to use your power, right? I feel like this is kind of accompanying justice. Oh, I already shuffled it, but the justice card, where it's like, when you become the queen, how will you act? Right. And I kind of spoke to this in the last reading for the full moon, which is, if you got all your heart's desire, what would you do with it? How would you give it back to the world? Well, this is saying, like, be mindful of when you're stepping into your element, you're balancing out, and things are going to work more harmonious, but don't forget about others. Don't forget about balancing how you receive and also give. All right. So those are cool cards. That's a cool reading. So now let's do a little oracle card, just as a little accoutrement to this. Let's see what that wants to be. I love this deck because it has very pretty butterflies. So this deck to me is like an oracle card of transformation. What things are helping us transform? All right. Oh, that one is ready to go. Ooh. And we got, you are worth it. Yeah, for sure. That totally reminds me of this Queen of Wands, where it's like, she knows her worth. She knows that she is awesome and powerful and can make things happen. You know, that Wands energy, that creation. So know it. Know your worth. Actually, no, I feel like I got this, the last one too, with that skunk, remember? If anybody watched the last one. So it's repeated, right? It's moving, it's coming through again from the full moon, which is through all of this. Know your worth. Know that no matter how, again, the scales tip, you still are of worth. Know that no matter whether certain relationships work out, however your career path pursues, whether you find that new, you know, home or new place or new endeavor, you, throughout it all, you are worth it. You are worth it to do the work. You're worth it to let things leave your life that no longer serve you. You are worth all the time and effort you put into yourself and to the things that you love, right? So you are worth waiting for, right? You're worth this time of patience. The way that your life will blossom is worth the wait. And you are worth investing in and believing in and supporting yourself and taking the time to get to the heart of the matter of why certain things don't work. So again, know your worth. Know that you are a bright, powerful force, but consider how you care for others as you reach, you know, a point of acknowledgement. The Queen of Wands is someone who's really seen, she's stepping out, she's out there. And then get ready for, you know, some new things coming in, some new energy, and then a little surprise, little fish. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a beautiful new moon this Sunday, September 25th, and a lovely Libra season, and good luck with the rest of the retrogrades. Next time I see you, they will be behind us. But don't forget, they can be helpful for that reflection and consideration before we move into action. All right. Thank you. Take care.